All right. Let's get this party started, my friends.
First time in a
It's been
long time.
forever. I know. And I don't miss you people because I love you. And we just saw each other, but I
We
do
did.
miss our big ghosty fairy family,
Yes.
our two fairy fans. And we do have some really fun things to share with
We
everyone
do.
today,
Yes.
right?
We have a special guest.
And a
Mhm.
special guest who
Hi.
is the victim of a ghost encounter. So we're having our good friend Mandi on today so she can tell us in person what happened to her today. But we're basically having a debrief of a recent week-long stay and visit to at Lickleyhead Castle, which is in Scotland. Hence
Of
the one
course.
Scott Whatnot, our
Mhm.
favorite. And yeah, we didn't have a lot of ghosty encounters, but we had some significant ones in the ones that
Mhm.
did occur. Right?
Yes, definitely.
Definitely.
Especially you, Mandy.
Yes, I totally had a significant encounter.
Significant. So we cannot wait to hear all about it. Lucy, did you want to give us the background? Should we talk about why we were there and what we were
Yeah,
doing?
sure. So we were doing our annual art retreat that we have previously done in Wardhill Castle. And this time around, we decided to stay at Lickleyhead, which is actually connected to the same family, but not owned by the same family anymore. So it used to be owned by the Leslie family, the same as Wardhill, but it got sold under rather embarrassing circumstances a few years ago. Should we
Mhm.
talk about that? I'm sure we could talk about that.
It's something anyone could Google. So
Like it's
I
public
think it's
knowledge.
on it's on the public record. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, so I did a bit of Googling just to get the facts straight. Yeah, the father of the owner of Ward Hill, whose family had owned Lickleyhead and Ward Hill for a really long time, hundreds of years, had encountered a few money difficulties in recent years. I think they were self-imposed money difficulties because he didn't pay his council tax and therefore was in arrears for rather a significant amount of money. And rather than paying it, he actually surrendered one of his many properties, the one
Yeah.
being Lickleyhead. So it went up for sale and then it was bought by another family that now rent it out as an Airbnb style place for vacations.
Yeah. And it's super cool
It's
because
beautiful.
It's
I
gorgeous.
think one of the coolest things about it is that they invested in redecorating all of I don't know how many of the rooms. We should have maybe contacted James for specifics, but at least I think all of the bedrooms were all redecorated specifically to reflect a different time period, like during the long history during the slow build of Lickleyhead. I think it was built in
Mhm.
like 3 different centuries, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. I think it was started to be built around the 1600s. Um,
I think it was
it
1629.
actually says here. I'm looking up our trusty Wikipedia. It actually says here that the land and the estate was initially given to the Leslies in the 13th century.
That's so
Whoa.
crazy. Which makes sense because Ward Hill, I think, goes back to the 1100s. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
so it was
fact
Oh.
that
around the same time.
Lickleyhead wasn't started until the 1600s, that's actually like were sitting on that land for quite a long time.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think there was maybe something there before, but whatever
No
remains
idea.
isn't from that time period.
Right.
It's from a little bit later, from the 1600s. And then it actually went through quite a few different families. So it didn't stay with the Leslies for that whole time.
Right.
It started off with the Leslies and then it went through a few different of these like huge, big Scottish families that always have lots of castles and lands. So eventually, I'm not going to go into all of the details of those, but this is quite cool. Eventually, it came back to the Leslies because the current owner, in the early 1900s, I'm not going to be able to say his name.
Do it. Say
It's
it.
Spanish.
Oh.
Say it anyway.
But he was the governor of Mexico City. How cool is that?
Oh,
And
yeah.
this is the thing, I didn't actually realize that then, like the great grandfather and so forth of the current Leslies are from
Mexico.
that branch as well. So they
Mhm.
were partially from Mexico City. His name was Don Guillermo de Landa y Escanadon.
Oh, you nailed it.
Mhm.
So good.
And did you know, Can and Mandy, that
Yes.
in Ward Hill there is that huge big effigy? Like, is it effigy the right word? The
Massive.
Mary,
Yes.
the
Yes,
um,
it's from Mexico.
The
and
one.
it's from Mexico, and it was brought over. So the daughter of this governor, he bought the castle for his daughter. Her name was Maria Louise, and she then married a Leslie. So the castle went back into the Leslie family.
Yeah.
So the Leslies always owned Ward Hill. They owned Lickleyhead. They lost it for a while. And then the person that owned the castle, this Spanish woman, married a Leslie, so it went back to her. And that's why in Ward Hill Castle, there's that huge, big Spanish painting, because she brought it over from Mexico
Mhm.
when
I think
she...
it's Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Yes,
And the
that's
stairway?
it.
Yeah.
Yes, the Lady of Guadalupe. I couldn't remember the name of it. And
Yeah.
apparently there's a bullet hole in there
Yes,
There
there
is.
is.
because there was a war, or there was fighting going on when
Yeah.
they fled and they came over to Scotland, which is super cool. And I hadn't realized that.
You didn't? It's huge. It's
Mhm.
a huge painting, just because I don't think anyone's maybe seen it except for the few retreat
Yeah.
participants that might be listening. But
Yeah.
this painting is massive. I mean, it must be 12 feet by 10 feet or something. It's massive, and it sits at the top of the first floor landing. Although in the UK, your first floor is our second floor, so it's
Oh, is it?
whatever floor that. Yeah. Yes.
And I think, Lucy, that the man who purchased Lickleyhead, I think his painting is in the dining room at Ward Hill. I saw that. Do you remember there's a giant
painting?
picture, a painting of a man if you're looking toward the big door?
Yes.
I think that's him, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I found that somewhere on a website.
Don Guillermo
the Mexican dude.
Escanadon. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
I
his
think
painting in
his
Ward Hill.
daughter is the beautiful one that I always loved her paintings and photographs throughout the castle.
Okay.
And I think she's the one featured over the mantle in that library room.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, the one that we all painted?
Yes.
Oh.
And
That's
she
No,
is
we painted a different one, actually.
Okay.
We painted the one from the bright yellow room, the sitting room.
Oh, sorry. My brain, it was in Lickleyhead.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about Ward Hill?
Yeah, about Ward Hill. Remember the library?
Yes.
And there's that really beautiful kind of Art Deco-y time period woman. Yeah. I think that's who he purchased it for.
Oh, okay.
Who isn't that Will and Rose's like grandmother?
Grandma, yeah.
Right.
It's the grandmother.
Okay.
Great grandmother of Will and Rose.
Right. That makes sense because that was the 20s. Yeah. And so if anyone's new listening, I know, and Rose Leslie is like a super famous Hollywood actress, which makes this all extra exciting and fun. It's just really cool. I know. And I asked James, who's the owner, and apparently she grew up in both and spent time in both Lickleyhead and Ward Hill, which I didn't know, which is also really cool because when you're running around these, castles, it's so easy to get caught up in it feels just so historical. I mean, there's nothing that's even remotely as close to that I can't talk. Something even as old as that in the States, and then also having the layer of super famous people woven in there too, who are currently famous, not like anyone from history, but now it's really quite cool. Yeah. But Lickleyhead is really different than Ward Hill. It's it's like a miniature classic castle with a spiral staircase that spans 6 floors, right? You can just
Yeah.
spiral your way all the way up to the top, and there's
And
something.
little turret bedrooms that go off
Yes.
the spiral staircase. So there'd be like one bedroom on each floor that goes off the spiral staircase.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's got a very different feel.
Very,
And
very
each
different
floor
feel.
is to Americans like half of a floor because it's like 4 steps up and you're in another floor, another
Mhm.
bedroom.
Yes.
It was really cool how
It
it was
very
laid out.
cool. And also huge props to Lickleyhead for redoing and renovating, updating all of their many bathrooms, which
Yes.
is, I felt like very as a luxury. They
Mhm.
did such a good job. Everything's like, but it doesn't feel brand new and shiny. It feels like, you
Mhm.
know, I don't know.
So the way that they've done all the rooms, which is super interesting, is they've kind of done them all in different eras. So there's a medieval style room with
Like a fireplace and
fireplace
animal
and
rugs.
animal rugs.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
think of the word for it. And then there's the laird's bedroom, which is very traditional, kind of Scottish. And then there's
Mandi, tell us about your room.
Georgian one. Was it Georgian, your one?
Mine was
Scooters.
connected to the Laird's room, and it was called
Right.
the Maitland, and it was a beautiful French blue and white, and it was just gorgeous. It was like early 1800s.
Regency, maybe, was it?
But it was a nautical theme.
It was a nautical theme, yeah.
everything
So
in
there
there
were
was-
lots of things to
Mhm.
do with boats or whatever, but there were also beautiful busts of women in there, just placed around as decoration. I thought it was so
Yeah.
gorgeous, and a turret bathroom.
Yes, I think most of the bathrooms were in the turrets, which was
Mhm.
also they were just like teeny tiny, compact, but had everything you needed in
Yeah.
there. Do you remember the plaque that was in your bedroom? I love this too. They have every
I
single
think I
bedroom.
took a picture of it. I'll see if I can find it. But it was the time period of early 1800s. I want to say maybe even 1803, something like that.
Okay.
And it was one of those families who owned the castle, who they were decorating in the style of at that time. And he was, I want to say maybe a captain of a ship, or maybe he was an admiral, something like that, and often away. And his wife was at the castle. So
yeah, and I love how they have stories like that in
Yes.
each of the themed bedrooms. I mean, how
Yes.
clever and so interesting. And one thing I always wish when we have stayed at Ward Hill is like there's no information about anything anywhere on anything. So you're just like,
Yes.
wow, I wonder like all about so many things. And
they have so many gorgeous family paintings that you're like,
Ev-
what's their story? Just to connect the dots would be really cool for guests.
super cool. And so I love that Lickleyhead does a really great job. I mean, they really bring first they've set you in this theme, right? So as soon as you walk into these rooms, you're like, oh my gosh, it's the year 1565, right? I mean, you guys are like surrounded by the time period, and then they let you know a little snippet about the family members that were living there at that time. And I just thought it was just so clever, so clever. They did a really great job of doing that. What are some of the other rooms? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, there was like a Mary Queen of Scots era.
Right.
Yes, that was the Forbes room. And that was just a couple of floors above me.
Yeah.
And or a couple steps away, actually. And that one was really cool. And it had a giant wooden bed that was like wooden on 3 sides up against the wall. And a curtain, and it had the Mary Queen of Scots above the fireplace, a painting of her.
That might be a good place to start right there in that room, because this, although weirdly, because what I learned about that room was actually on our way out. All the guests had left, and we were actually going through with we're with our friend Tammy, who we had hired to help us clean up and sort after the guests during the week and after they left. And we were going through room by room to make sure like no one had left anything behind and empty everyone's trash and that sort of thing. And so we were going through the rooms one by one, and we have talked extensively with, and we've talked about especially in our last episode when we did our ghost debrief at Ward Hill. She has a real sense for spirits and she's a lot like Ginger, who we've had on many times. Hi, Ginger. Hi, Tammy. If you're listening, we love you so much. And as we were leaving, we were in that room, and that room feels really creepy because they've done such a job making it feel
Yeah,
authentic.
it's like you're in a room
Yeah.
from the 1500s,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Totally.
You really feel like you are in that era.
Yes, and the bed is it's just like a room you've been to in some museum somewhere where the
Mhm.
room feels short because it's in
Yes.
that wooden box. You have to
Yeah.
climb like up into it, and there's like the mattress is
Mhm.
like a mound, and then there's like that not earthen, but there's like that stone fireplace that's like
Yes.
exposed that feels very like raw and like
In a
rustic. There
stone
is a
closet.
fireplace.
It's
Is
really
that the one with
cool.
the stone closet in it?
Yeah, it
And
was
that
really
little basin, just very minimal. It almost felt like a monk's bedroom or something.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
kinda like,
yeah.
but it
Mhm.
feels like it should be really creepy feeling. So, when we're in there with Tammy, we're like, "Ooh, like, isn't this the spooky room?" And she's like, "No, actually, there's nothing in here whatsoever." We're like, "Hey, what do you mean?" Certainly, like, this room is haunted of all
Right.
the rooms. And she was like, there's absolutely nothing in here. And so we were like, "Oh, that's so interesting." So we were just peeking around again to make sure that like no one had left anything in the bed. And you have to get like literally climb into the bed just to
Mhm.
make sure there was a charger or whatever. And she looked and she stops and she looks up and goes, "Oh, that's why." And Lucy and I were like, "What do you mean? What's why?" She's like, "Oh yeah, there's a cross in the bed. That's why there's nothing in here."
Right.
And I was
That's
like,
really
But-
interesting. There was not a cross in my room. And I
"Mm."
wonder if
But-
there will be the next
No,
time we go
well,
back.
I was going to say, do you know what's interesting? That TikTok video that I tried to send you earlier
Mm.
today, Karen,
Mhm.
that said, we visited a haunted castle in Scotland, and it was Lickleyhead.
No way.
I did a search on Google today for Lickleyhead ghosts, and hardly anything came up, but that TikTok video came up, so I clicked on it and watched it. And the funny thing was that when I searched Lickleyhead in TikTok, that video came up, but then the rest of my search results were
Were they
really
dirty?
Oh.
like he's licking my head. And
Oh my
Right.
God.
all kinds of weird things I didn't really want to see. Anyway,
Totally.
it was mostly just some tourist had made it, and they'd been there in 2022, so a year ago, and they just mostly had photos of the interior of the castle, but then little captions underneath. And when it got to that room, it said the REM pod went crazy in here.
Ooh.
The what went crazy?
The REM pod.
What the heck is a REM pod?
Yeah.
Karen,
What word
I
is
have no
that?
idea
What are
what
you
that
even
is.
saying? But Mandy's like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, "Wait, back up."
No, I'm not. Oh yeah. I'm like, ooh, what was it?
She's pretending that she knows.
Yes.
So she doesn't
Because she
know.
says yes, no
pretending.
matter whatever what you say, she says yes to. I have to yell at her about that. I'm
Do
like,
not.
don't agree with me.
You do not.
Wait, what? Seriously, what is that? I've never heard that word in my
Please
whole life.
explain.
Oh, you two need to like do some serious ghost hunting video watching.
Is
That's
it
a
a
REM
ghost
pod is-
detector or what?
It's a little electrical thing that you would put in a room, and it's got like a little flashing light on the top,
Mhm.
and it makes a noise, but it only flashes the light or makes the noise if something comes within the vicinity of it, like some kind of energy field.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to like pick up spirits, because, and you see people on ghost hunting videos speaking to the room and saying like, if you're here, could you come and touch the REM pod? And then like the REM pod will flash off.
Right.
Can you get it on Amazon? Can we get one for when we go back?
But see, this is what freaks me out. It's like I don't like, but then you're gonna sleep in that room after.
Yeah, no,
that's where I like can't do it.
I couldn't sleep even without that kind of equipment. So there's no way that I could sleep with that.
I slept really well, except for one night.
You might have slept better that night. If
I might have
succumbed to.
Do you want to segue into that? You want to tell your story?
Yeah, tell your story, Mandi.
If you're ready, did you want to tell any more about the history or about the individual rooms? Because when Tammy went through my room, she said it was fine. And I felt it was beautiful and homey and quaint and just really comforting. Like I didn't feel anything spooky or scary. And like you mentioned, that Forbes room was like, ooh, what's going on in there?
Right.
Or the top floor was decorated as a nursery.
Speak about that room. for a little
Yeah,
bit?
we could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the room that I felt when I went into it, and you were the same, Karen, was the top floor. It's a little nursery. It's got 2 single beds in it.
Nope.
It's got 2 single beds and a little rocking horse. And we walked in and I just went, oh no.
Yeah.
No, I don't like this room. This room feels weird.
Yes.
It just feels like really, really strange. And then when Tammy came in, we went round all the rooms with her just to get a sense of what was going on. She stood in that room and just said, yes, there's something in this room,
Yes.
and it's not very good.
Well, that was the second time. Because first she did a reading and she was like, there's definitely somebody here and it's a male, but that's all she said. She didn't say anything else. She was like, there's a male presence here for sure.
It's not children, even though it's a nursery.
Exactly.
It's a male.
Exactly. So we were like, okay, there's somebody on the 6th floor, and also what makes that room creepy is a couple of things. One, it's the highest room of the whole castle.
Yeah.
So which is just, I don't know, creepy because there's nothing off of that room. There's no bathroom up there. It's just it's not a random. It's just this one lonely room at the top with tiny, teeny windows, like 3 teeny, tiny windows. And 2 really creepy, like shining twin murder room, like murder twin beds. And every time I just personally find twin beds super freaky. So
I didn't feel that when we went there. I thought it was decorated really cutely.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but that's
I thought it was adorable. And I was like, oh, this is cute. And it probably, like we've talked about, wasn't a nursery originally. It was something else, maybe a servant's quarters up there or something. But I thought it was sweet. I heard what some of the other interpretations were going on in there.
Well, I think we're all like influenced by our like preconceived notions.
Oh, totally.
Because I like, to me, that just screams like The Shining. Like I go up there. Yes. Like when I go to
I was just imagining horror movies in that room.
Exactly. Definitely. And then Mandi, you're just always like everything is like, oh, cute and innocent and like shiny. I would totally expect for you to think that in that room with those beds, just knowing who you are. So which I just think is so funny because I'm like, you really don't think that was really creepy? Like that's shocking. But then that's really interesting. And I am sure that the poor owners were not trying to creep anybody out because they want
definitely not. They were turning it into a cute nursery. Yeah.
Right. But it's not.
Maybe it's just me and you, Karen, that like
I don't know.
We've got that kind of
it's yucky. Even the photographs scare me, like looking at it before we even were there. Oh God, James, I'm so sorry if you're listening to this, but really truly, like maybe put a big king bed in there and make it like
that might help.
Yeah. Change up the vibe in there because it is vibey scary. But anyways, she said there's a man in here, but she didn't say if it was good or bad or whatever. She just said there's definitely like a male spirit that stalks this room. Those are the words
James,
that she said.
If you are listening, it's going to get worse. So you maybe want to
yeah. Oh, shit. James, we love you. We are so coming back.
We love Lickleyhead, and we're coming back.
Yeah, we're coming back. Don't worry. That's a given.
We're just, none of us are sleeping in that room.
We're just not going anywhere near that room. But that's okay because it's at the top, so you don't even need to go up there.
Yes.
What was I going to say? So that was that was like her first reading. So she had read all the rooms and that was her only assessment was like, and we were actually kind of disappointed because we're like, oh, there's just one dude on the 6th floor. Like that's it. And she's like, honestly, like that's kind of it.
She said there's hardly anything in here compared to Ward Hill.
Yes. So that was day 1. And then when did she hear the screaming? Was that day 2?
It might have been day 2.
I think it was pretty quick.
She heard screaming?
She did,
she heard a man screaming down the hall by the chapel. Floor. We didn't even tell him about the scary chapel.
I didn't know it was screaming.
Yes.
I thought she just heard voices.
No,
yelling. No,
he was like yelling. A man yelling, screaming.
He was angry.
She said. Yes. You didn't know that? Oh, this is why these debriefs are
so important. No, I didn't know that. You always, why do we always do these things when it's late at night?
I'm sorry. So, but it was a man screaming and coupled with something else. There was one other thing too. There was 2 things.
Was that the day the window on the top floor?
No,
that
was something else. Day. Shit. Oh, I should text me at Tammy and ask her what it was. This
I
is why I'm
can't
always like, we
remember.
have to write these things down because we always forget. There was
Yeah.
something else. So theirs is, and this I think is so strange too, that in Ward Hill, there is a commanding male officer who like basically like kind of stalks the kitchen, but he marches
Yeah.
down the kitchen corridor, like the area between the kitchen and like the rest of the castle. There's like a stone corridor, and that's
with the clock.
With the clocks, and that he like stays there all the time. And this was so strange because where she heard this guy screaming was also the corridor off of the kitchen.
Yeah,
which
so
felt
strange.
a little creepy. Yeah.
So there's a like the quote unquote front door, and I know there's names. It's probably like the east wing versus the west wing. There's like the closest door to get in. You walk in, you can go straight upstairs as soon as you walk in, or you can turn right, and there's a long corridor which leads directly to the kitchen, and that's where she heard the screaming. And off of that sketchy ass corridor, there's 2 rooms which are both sketchy ass. One is a chapel, which we did not even talk about.
I didn't want to go in there, but Tammy said there was absolutely nothing in that chapel.
Nothing in there.
I went in there and I wasn't creeped out at all. It was just an old chapel.
Because it's all crosses.
It's just weird.
But I was Catholic, so it's like, this is church. It was fine to me.
I just find it, I was like, oh no, I couldn't go in there. I just found it really weird.
It was really weird. But maybe because it's like a religious area, maybe that's why there was no presence.
I also find that whole corridor strange, and the other room, which is like a little games room with a ping pong table and dressing up costumes,
which by the way, James, spot on. We were all over those costumes.
They were amazing.
They were.
You need to do more of that, James. That was amazing. We want a whole dressing up ensemble. With like
more adult dresses
eras.
For the girls.
We want Tudor dresses. We want
like a rack for
each
century. Oh my god. Yeah,
that'd be
more
awesome.
Costumes, James, for sure.
And different sizes, because
different sizes, right?
Small.
No, there was
one that was ginormous.
Humongous. It was like size 200. Yes. But I think that was nice that they had different sizes. Mine was very tight, for sure. I will put some of those pictures on the blog because that would be funny if someone's like.
So what night do you think we dressed up? Was that the night that my thing happened?
No, yours happened a little bit later in the week.
Mine happened Wednesday night.
I think this was maybe Tuesday night.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we did the fire. We did s'mores in the fire. And Lucy read a book by the fire. And that's the night we dressed up.
Okay.
It was after our excursion day. Yeah, that was Tuesday. And then
what happened Wednesday night? What did we do that night?
I don't think it matters.
I know. Does it matter? Or is there a reason?
I'm just trying to. No, I don't know.
Get the cadence of the trip.
Like what led up to that? Like,
I don't know.
Oh, if there was anything,
if anything triggered it.
Let's talk about what happened Tuesday. I think Tuesday. No, back it up. So Monday was that our day that we were arting all day long. So so Lucy and I on these retreats teach all basically like 10 a.m. to like 4 p.m. We are downstairs kind of having like a class experience. And the first, other than the screaming and the other event that I can't remember, which was maybe the first day, which was like Sunday, then this was Monday where we're literally arting all day. So we had all of us, all 12 of us had been together in the same room all morning, from probably breakfast, like 9 a.m. to maybe 1 p.m. or noon, when we all broke for lunch. And that is when Susie, who was staying in the creepy twin bed 6th floor bedroom, ran up to her room to grab something like art supply or whatever. And she said, she came racing back downstairs and said, I don't think she asked April, her roommate, or she just was like, okay, the window.
April hadn't left. She was right at the table.
Because we were all together, all of us. She was like, and it was free. It's cold. So nobody had their windows open anywhere. It's winter. It's, late October. So all the windows were closed. And she was like, the window in our bedroom was unlatched, wide open. And there's a metal like bird cage decor piece that sits in front of that window that had been moved, and the window was unlatched and wide open.
Mhm.
So that
And it's
can
a
I
heavy
just
window.
add-
It wouldn't
it's a
yeah,
just
heavy latch
Can I
get
just
window.
loose.
add to that
Yes.
actually, like the window, you have to, it was in a, it's not like it's flush to the
No.
wall. This is a
Right.
Scottish castle. So the walls are like a foot thick with stone. So it's a really deep windowsill. And there was something in front of it. So you would have to almost lean over the bed and like stretch around to open the window.
Yeah.
Well, and you'd have to
get your
move.
hand
You got to
and
move that
move
thing
something.
first. Mhm.
Yeah. So it was
Yep.
super weird.
It was super weird. And that is when we grabbed Tammy
Yes.
immediately because she comes around lunchtime to help clean up. And we said, Tammy, something has happened. So we grabbed Susie is who discovered it. We grabbed Tammy and we ran straight up to the 6th floor. And we said, Susie, show us, you know, what the window looked like before, what it looked like after. And so she, you know, went ahead and moved the bird cage, which was she probably had to move it at least like 8 inches. And then I went and I tried to do the latch because I was like, I want to see, is this just like a quick, like boop, boop, like the wind of just, I'm like, no, you have to like forcibly like unlatch it and then pull it or push it out. And so Tammy, which God love her, she just sits and does this amazing kind of quiet assessment where she kind of backs herself up into the corner of a room. Adorable person that she is, putting up with our like shenanigans. Kind of like takes it in. And Ginger is very much the same way, although I know Ginger like usually puts her like fingers together at the bridge of her nose. She does that, closes her eyes and kind of does like a concentrated.
Yeah.
But
Tammy goes and stands up against the wall.
She like backs herself up and then just quietly like looks around the room. I love their processes for both of them. And we just try to shut the fuck up and let them do their work, their magic. And she said, she said, because we already knew there was a man up there. And she said, yeah, there is, that it's the man. And we're like, oh, okay, it's the guy. Well, whatever. And I said, is he good or bad? And she said, I don't want to say. And I looked at Susie. I think she said it like under her breath to me, like don't say anything. And so I was like, Susie, do you want to know? And Susie was like, oh my God, I can totally take it. You gotta tell me. You gotta tell me. And I was like, I'm like, okay, she's giving you the green light. Like what's up? And she was like, he's malicious.
Malicious.
It's that word.
Out of all the
so many connotations to it, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And none of them are good. I was like, oh shit. So he's stalking the room and he's not good. So but
she wondered if he was the man screaming or yelling down by the kitchen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So she had sensed the man, then she heard the screaming, and then she,
So if he is the man that she caught screaming down by the kitchen, then this ghost is not confined to that room.
Yes.
This ghost can move throughout the castle.
Right. And I think screaming's probably the wrong word. I think it was more like discernible yelling, but it was
he was yelling. I thought she said he was angry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Negative again, but screaming is, I'm using the wrong word there.
It's funny because when you look up Lickleyhead ghosts, there's not a lot of information, but you are told that there's the
green lady.
Right. Yeah, a green lady.
A green lady who is supposedly someone who was murdered in the castle. But
there's no stories about it though, are there? I didn't
read
any.
No, that's all. That's the only tale I could find was green lady.
And who would that be? Like, was there a painting of that person? Like the portrait that we painted there, she was in green. She was young.
Well, I think
it's not about being in a green dress, though, Mandi. Green lady is a particular
kind of ghost
phenomenon.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's literally called the green lady. There's also a lot of gray ladies, and there's some white ladies.
And white
because
ladies.
There was another castle we went to. Was it Crathis? And they had a green lady?
They've got a green lady as well, yeah.
Okay.
Green is like a very like supernatural color.
Yeah.
So she
it's
looks
also
green.
like a very fey color. Yes.
So it's not just someone in a green dress, it's like a green ghost.
Like aura.
Or a grey lady or a white lady.
Mhm.
Like the white lady that I saw at Ward Hill.
At Ward
The one
Hill.
that kind of looks like they're all one
Mm.
color.
Wow.
But Tammy didn't sense a green lady.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
And
Just
she,
a malicious
Sorry,
man.
yeah,
James. Sorry, James.
I know. Sorry, James. And she was there. I mean, she was there every day, right? For 8 days, you know, a couple times. She was there for a good,
Yeah.
maybe 4 hours a day. So she did have enough time to kind of like soak in the vibes. And the reason we trust him as our ultimate ghosty source is that she spends so much time and she sees so much. She's caught things on her phone, but she seems to be very sensitive. So so cool. So I think now, so we've gone through sort of chronologically.
I think it's time to hear Mandi's
Okay.
tale.
Are you ready?
Time for Mandi's
Yes.
tale.
Okay.
All right.
You tell us,
So
Mandy.
wait, don't leave out any details because I'm just going to interview the shit out of you if you do.
Okay.
So you better be
Okay,
comprehensive.
so it happened Wednesday night. So this would have been our 4th night sleeping in the castle. And like I said, I felt like my room was beautiful, was comfortable, was safe, comforting, and I didn't feel anything weird. And I really didn't feel anything weird anywhere in the castle. Like I mentioned, the corridor next to the chapel leading to the kitchen felt a little bit creepy at night, but that's just like, it could be like when you're a little kid and you're like, it's dark and it's creepy right here. But I don't know. That was the only thing I felt. But Wednesday night, went to bed like normal. And I don't know if this happened in the middle of the night, if it happened right away. But I felt like I was in that in between asleep and awake. And all of a sudden, my bed moved and someone got in bed with me. And it was a male. It was obviously a man. And it was terrifying. And all of a sudden...
why was it obvious a man and obviously a male?
Because of the weight getting into the bed. It was a weight. And I was rolled onto my side because I always sleep on my side. And as he got into the bed, he reached around my body.
So he was behind
was your
you.
head facing?
Yeah.
Mandy?
So much more details. So much.
So I was not sleeping on my right side, facing a window.
Okay.
And I was like sleeping on the right side of the bed like I do here, where there's room for my husband completely. And so whoever this person was, he got in the bed and snuggled up behind me to spoon me. And as that presence came up behind me to spoon me, there was an electric audible sound that went through me, and it was like and just grabbed me and possessed me. And as this arm of his came under my back and around my front, I could see black gas, spindly long fingers.
Oh my God,
getting me.
terrifying.
It was terrifying. And I tried to turn my neck to see. And then as I was doing that, I was terrified. I didn't want to see because I was so afraid. And I was like, nope, I'm going to just shut my eyes. And I was screaming for Amy, who was like 4 steps behind me. I was screaming for Debbie, who was next door to me, or Robin, who was up a couple floors. No sound came out of my mouth. And I was paralyzed. I could not move. And that, like, it was not sexual. It was just he possessed me. And he didn't get inside of me like you would think of like, oh, an exorcism, like the ghost is in your body. But it was just, I was his. He held on to me. And I don't know how long I don't know, Lucy. I don't know how long it lasted for. And my sleep for the rest of the night was very fitful.
You think?
And yeah, I woke up at like 9:30 in the morning, and I had not, I don't know why I didn't have an alarm set or whatever for our lesson the next day. And I was kind of scrambling to get ready for that. And I was like, did that really happen? Was that real? No. And my logical brain was like, no, that was a dream. You totally dreamed that. But it felt so real. And it was so vivid that I can't really imagine that it was a dream, even though sometimes I do have vivid dreams, but I've never had a dream like this in my life.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I couldn't wait to see Tammy that day and tell her. And we had to come down, and what was it? It was the crystal presentation. And my head was like, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to like tell you guys right away what happened. And I wanted to see Tammy because I was scared. Yeah. And I think I saw you first, Karen, and I told you. And you were like,
Yeah.
oh my God, are you okay? And I was okay, but scared.
I'm fine.
I'm
And then-
amazed that you actually managed to go and sleep for the rest of the week in that room, because I don't think I would
No.
have.
Yes. I had 3 more nights in that room, and 2 of them Karen slept with me, and 1 of them
Yeah.
I was alone. And the next night I was alone, I did say out loud, whether this is dumb or not. Tammy had told me to say, she told me, you're in control, and you can tell them, I don't want you here. You need to leave. I need to sleep, and they will go. And so that's what I did. And when I was, because I had closed my eyes and I was like, okay, Karen's not here tonight. What's going to happen? And I couldn't fall asleep. And so I did that. I said it out loud. And then, like a little kid, I said my prayers. I like Hail Married myself to sleep. And that's what I did. And I was fine.
Yeah.
And nothing ever else felt creepy at all. But when I told Tammy the story, I said, what do you think? Was that real? And she said, yes, that was real. And I was like, okay. And then that was the day that we had the crystal lady come. And she did a really cool presentation. We loved that. And one of the girls on the retreat, one of my friends, Amy, was like, she went up to the crystal lady and was like, can you stage her room? Because she had a ghostly encounter last night.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, yeah, of course. So she went up there, and it was just the 2 of us. And she said, okay, let's just walk in there together. And then I'm going to ask you to leave because there are too many energies and it just needs to be me and whatever's in there in order to cleanse the room. So I said, okay. And she walked in and she said, oh, I definitely sense a male presence. And she said, he's still here. And I was like, okay. And I didn't sense anything. And she walked around a little bit. She opened a window and then she asked me to go out and she saged the room. And then when she was done, she called me back in. And she said he was either a drowning or choking victim who was having trouble crossing over. And he came to me for peace and did not wish me any harm. And that kind of, the harm part didn't really resonate with me because I felt terrified of the guy who got in bed with me. He was not a gentle cuddler. He was scary. Yeah.
That's terrifying.
And if this was a person coming to me for peace, I did not feel that.
Maybe she was trying to make you feel better. Maybe she was trying, which is actually so nice of her. Because
it is.
Had it been me, I would have been fucking terrified.
Yeah, and it just made me feel better to know, okay, she saged the room and did her thing, and like there could be a layer of protection here, regardless of what I believe. Yeah. I don't know what I believe, but something had been done to protect me.
But not only that, if that had been me, I would have been like, great. Because when he comes back again in 5 minutes, then I'm fine because he doesn't mean me any harm. Because that's where my brain goes.
And that did help me.
You know what I mean? Yep. So I'm glad that she said those words to you between Tammy's, like your ghost plan of what you can say. And I forgot about that too. You reminded me when she was doing the 6th room floor assessment. Mm-hmm. She did say to Susie, like, it's the same exact thing. Like, you're okay. You just tell them. Cause I think, I can't remember, she or I were like, well, what can you do about this? There's like a man stalking the room. Like, what do you do? And she's like, no, you have the power to be like, no, you are not, like, please leave. Like, you are not welcome here. And that actually works. So that for anyone listening who's as terrified as I know as I am, and I have said those words out loud in many Scottish venues. Especially ones that Lucy takes me to and she won't sleep with me because she's so mean. And I've had to say those.
Not me.
So mean.
Although that's 2 nights that we stayed in the castle and I was on my own and you were sleeping with Mandi. I was like, oh my God, I did not sleep a wink almost.
And Lucy, that's how I was when we were there last October at those hotels. That was me. I did not sleep a fucking wink. That's why I'm like, Mandi, I am hopping in your bed, girlfriend, because I need to have another human around me. Like, I cannot.
And you willingly came into the room after you knew what had happened to me. And you were like,
well, and
you didn't seem scared.
Probed.
You wanted me to be ghost raped.
But I wasn't probed. I was like, it really wasn't sexual in that way. It was, but it was a definite spoon. It was like, he wanted more, he wanted something, but
It didn't escape me that I was in the exact spot that the ghost was the night before, and I was like, huh.
Did you
And I was,
spoon Mandy?
I did not.
No,
Nope.
she didn't. We set
Why
a pillow there.
not?
We
You
like
could
the
have
barrier.
We're fine.
I know.
Yeah, we're good.
I know. I've known Mandi
But
for so
another
long.
thing Tammy told me when I mentioned this stuff to her, and I told her the interpretation of what the woman with the crystals had said. She said, I don't know if I feel that or believe that. And she said, the nature of my room was adjoining with the laird's room. And so likely the lady of the castle would have slept there, or his mistress or whatever. And she said ghosts get trapped in their daily and nightly patterns. And the laird would have just come in for his nightly cuddle or whatever he wanted. And that was normal for him.
I think
so
that
she said
sounds
it could
more
have been
like
the
it,
laird.
actually.
But knowing that
Like
there was
this-
a malicious man
Yeah, I know, right?
in that turret,
Yeah.
and he was moving,
And
it
Mandi,
did not feel good.
Weren't you on the 5th floor? I mean, you were really close to the 6th floor. Were you 4th or 5th?
No, there were two other. No, I was on the 2nd.
so there was
So
quite a few
Amy
floors.
was on the first room up the turret, and I was the next one up.
Oh, that's so weird. For some reason, I thought
It feels higher than that.
I know. I thought Debbie who was in the Lairds, was like way
It's
higher.
kind of the second floor because Debbie's only had one staircase leading to hers.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Okay.
Because it was the private entry.
Okay. The reason I was thinking that was Lucy and I, when we were outside putting something in your car late at night one night, we were looking at the outside windows, and it looked like there was like vapor shooting out of the windows. Do you remember that? And I showed Debbie, and she was like, oh, that's my bedroom. And I remember that being a really, really high bedroom window. That's the only reason I thought it was higher than that. Anyways,
it is high because if you look at a picture of the castle, you'll see that turret bathroom of mine and the window off to the side, and they're high up.
I know, it's
Yeah,
so
it's not like
confusing.
what an American
Oh, you know
second floor
why?
would be.
It's not second floor. It's because when you walk in that first room, like I was describing earlier, you can walk in and then you go straight up a staircase.
Yes.
And then you go up to your room, which was at least 2 more.
Yeah.
So you were like on the 4th floor. I can actually look at the Lickleyhead floor plan.
It doesn't matter.
It could be, but I was the
matter.
second room up the turret. And
my only thing I was saying the only reason I was bringing that up was because you're much closer to the 6th floor, which is where the is stocking. That's the reason I was bringing
because each room was like 4 or 5 steps away from the next.
Right.
It wasn't far at all.
Right.
And
I do kind of feel though that whole notion of a laird being maybe a little bit tipsy and being in his room late at night and having a few too many whiskeys and being like, oh, my wife's next door, and stumbling through and stumbling into bed with her does make sense to me.
But it didn't feel like a husbandly lover.
But the laird might not have been a husbandly lover.
True.
He might not have been, a lot of marriages in those days weren't marriages of love. They were marriages of one family marrying another one because they wanted to join things. So quite often they were unhappy marriages, but the laird maybe still wanted to get jiggy with it. And so even if his wife didn't like him, so maybe it was that kind of a sense of a
it
vibe.
totally could have been.
Sounds like a typical marriage to me.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say.
So one more piece of that puzzle from that night, I think I told you guys this, that Amy said she heard between 3 and 4 in the morning, she'd been having trouble sleeping. Same night. And she said every door in the turret opened and closed, opened and closed, opened and closed, all the way down.
Shut the fuck up. Really?
No. And she said she was so scared,
I didn't know that.
and she closed her eyes. She was too afraid to open her eyes because she didn't want to see.
You're right. I actually remember her saying that.
That is all new to me.
Completely forgot. Completely. But the way that watching your hand do that and like imagining that was not the way that she described it. Although now you think about it, I do remember her mentioning something about hearing the doors. That's fucking so scary because there are like when all those doors are closed. So when you go up, when you start at that bottom floor, which is not the bottom floor, and you
Yeah.
wind your way up, and it's like bedroom door after bedroom door after
Yes.
bedroom door after bedroom door as you go up and up and up and up. And those are all really difficult doors to open.
Yeah.
Yes. And
You
they
have
were
to-
all
They're all
above
fire
Amy because she
doors.
would have been
Yes.
ground floor. She was beneath
Yeah.
me,
Right.
and she could have heard every single door open, close
that
until he
is
got to me.
really scary.
If he was coming from the 6th floor, because
Oh no, Mandy, let's not think about that. That's
just the word malicious that Tammy used.
I know.
Dude, that's
Yeah, but you know
terrifying.
what? You're not there anymore, and you're safe. You're safe.
No,
because you
and
know.
I totally want to go back to Lickleyhead. I loved it, and I feel I'm not
you
I'm
just
not
wouldn't
afraid. I'm
sleep
not
in that room.
scared, but something weird happened to me, and
Yeah.
I really don't think it was a dream because I don't think it would stay with me this long if it was a
Yeah.
dream, you know, and the sensations of it, the electricity of it. And it's funny when I went to my hairstylist the other day and didn't know she was into ghosts, and she was like, I've been seeing her for 12 years and we talked about everything except ghosts. And she's like, oh my God, I watch all the ghost hunter shows and whatever. And she's like, it was an incubus. And I'm like, what? What is that? And she's like, it's a demon. Look it up. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I looked it up, and it sounds similar to what happened, but it sounds like an incubus. Ooh, do you have a story?
I looked it up today though.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, in the
But it sounds
encyclopedia.
like the incubus sits on your chest. Like if you're sleeping on your back, they press on your chest, your stomach. And I was on my side. I don't know. But supposedly they prey on the unsuspecting woman.
Well, according to Catherine
she's sleeping.
Briggs' Encyclopedia of Fairies, and then I have to comment on the hairstylist thing because I have that's so weird. That's a weird coincidence with me. So according to her, Catherine Briggs, who we have chatted about many, many times on this podcast, which Lucy, we have got to get back because
I know.
it is amazing stuff in here. It's technically, it says that Incubus was a devil, which assumed the appearance of a man and laid with a woman.
Ooh, Mandy.
And the term for a
well,
woman,
see, I felt like it could have been devilish, and I don't know why. Like
Because
Yeah.
he's a
because
malicious
nothing
man.
there. Right.
this is
Could he been a
fascinating too.
shapeshifter weird like
Well, this is a fun fact. Did you know that Merlin was supposed to be the child of an incubus?
Yes.
You did?
No.
Yes,
I
I did. I
did
read
not
that.
know
So I
that.
Googled what's an incubus. And so
Weird.
supposedly an incubus will impregnate the woman he sleeps with. And the legend of Merlin, he was the result of an
Right.
incubus. And a lot of times an incubus brings about the birth of a witch or something like that.
Oh, Mandy.
I'm not pregnant.
I was going to say.
Ship has sailed.
Too late.
That
Too late.
would be next level.
Hey, Damon, if you wanted to try that on, you shouldn't have been trying it on in a castle full of middle-aged women.
Right? Totally.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. It just also says that almost every 16th century book on witchcraft mentions the incubus. And then this last sentence, though, it makes me scratch my head because it says he is, however, rather vaguely coupled with a brownie by Reginald Scott as a spirit who has offerings of milk left out for him. I'm like,
Oh,
what?
What?
How do you go from the devil to a brownie in two
No.
sentences?
it depends what's in the brownie.
Yeah, true. So true.
No.
And it's funny you were talking about your art about you keep mentioning how you have been to the same hairdresser and you've just discovered that because
Yes.
my hairdresser is actually one of the very, very few people in this world that I can talk about all my ghostly things to. And she is so into them all. So Bridget, she used to be Bridget Lamb. She got married and now I cannot pronounce her last name. Shout out to Bridget because she always, when I get my hair done, which is very frequently because my hair is actually white. Yeah, she loves all these stories. I think I told her story of the phone ringing in her walls. Did I tell you that story? How about the phone was ringing in her walls?
No.
The wall? I didn't. Should I tell it now?
Yeah.
So she lives in a house in Durham because we were trading like creepy stories. And she was, I don't know, no idea. I think it was off the kitchen maybe. And she kept hearing a phone ring. And she was like, why is there a phone ringing in my house in 2021 or whatever when we all have cell phones? We don't even have phones anymore. So this phone kept ringing and ringing and ringing in her wall. So she like did a little investigating one day, and she busted up into her attic, which I think was more like a crawl space. Like I don't think you could stand up in there.
Mhm.
She was just like you could like kind of like crawl around.
Oh, I
And
don't
there's
like where
like
this is going.
insulation
Oh.
and things. And she like went
Mm.
across the rafters and insulation and found the source of the ringing phone. And there was like an old-timey phone
What?
that was
What?
fucking ringing. It was like
What?
calling her house.
Did she answer it?
And it was ringing when she went up there?
And it was ringing. That's how she found it. I don't know
Did
if it
she
was ringing
answer it?
when she found it. Wow. I don't know if there was. I think it was like the two-piece old-timey ones. So I don't. This is really bad, and this shows how
You need to find out. You need to speak to her
I
and find
can't
out whether she
remember
answered.
Yeah.
what happened if she answered it. I don't think so. I think it was just like the ringing landline box, which I feel like there was
Oh,
no
I don't like
receiver.
that story.
How creepy is that? Creepy.
Yeah, that
Shout out
freaks
to
me
Bridget. She's
Thanks,
so nice.
Bridget. Thanks, Bridget, for really scaring me before
And putting up with all my ghosty stories.
I have
that
to
tell her.
be in my house late at night on my own.
I know.
So you guys, I don't think I told you this. When I told my mom about my story, she said, "Well, you remember what happened to me in your old house in Illinois?" And I was like, "No, what happened in my old house?" And before my twins were born, that bedroom was a guest room, and she would come stay, whatever. And she's like, "You don't remember what happened in the guest room?" And she said that it was a moment where she was in between asleep and awake, and something evil came in and like black shadowy and pressed on her hip.
Oh my God.
And she felt like we must have been built, it was new construction on an old Indian burial ground. And and so she brought, because we were Catholic, she brought holy water and like cleansed the room like the next time she came. And when that same week I talked to my brother and I told him that story, and I told him, of course, my story. And he was like, "Well, you remember what happened to me in your house?" And I was like, "No, you had one too." And he lived with us for a while in our basement. There was a bedroom. And he said that a black shadowy thing like whooshed into him.
What?
Oh my goodness.
In the house. Yes.
What?
Yes. And my house was a happy, normal new construction kind of house. I never had anything ghosty happen there. And to hear both of them have like something black and shadowy, and the black shadowy was what I had. Oh. And I wonder if there's something like weirdly genetic.
Maybe there's something weird about your family.
Yeah.
Right? That we can like sense something. I don't know.
Or you guys are messed up.
Attract it, or we can be messed up for
I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. That's really weird.
Isn't that weird?
Yes. Maybe I wonder if they were, since this is the first time you're hearing about this from both of them. I wonder if neither of them wanted to say anything. Like you bringing up your experience. I wonder
because it was your house and you had to live in it.
Yes.
Do you think they
had lived there 10 years?
Do you think they had told each other that behind your back?
I don't think so.
So
because my mom didn't know. When I then went back to my mom and I was like, "Did you know James had the same kind of thing?"
Right.
But it went inside him, and she's like, "No."
Did it come out?
Yes, it came out. He said it went out and it came back in a second time.
What the?
And then it was gone. Yes. Is that terrifying?
Yes.
That is terrifying.
Oh God, if that ever happens to me, I'm just gonna drop dead. How do you even how did you go back to sleep? That's what I don't understand.
I don't know. But it was weird that they both explained the time when it happened was in between asleep and awake, which I was feeling that's when it happened to me too.
So Lucy, I know that you and I are both equally obsessed with our weird, like paranormal podcasts that we are super into. And I know I've heard a ton of stories about like sleep paralysis, but this doesn't actually it sounds a little bit like that where you are like, you're screaming, but you can't actually move. And I'm wondering if that's not what that is.
Totally.
But also, sleep paralysis is really common if you're on your back, not on your side. I think it's less common to be on your side. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be some kind of bodily reaction to sleeping on your back. So you say if you're prone to sleep paralysis, to try and not fall asleep on your back, because you're less likely to get it if you sleep on your side. But who knows? I mean, it could be
Mhm.
sleep paralysis, but I think
Totally.
that sometimes
But
I
that's
think
not, I'm
that,
not discounting your story because I think a
No,
lot of
not at all.
people,
Just my logical brain is like, it was something else,
no,
you
but
know?
Mandy, because you don't listen to all the paranormal podcasts that
Yeah.
Lucy and I do, usually when sleep paralysis happens, like fucked up things are happening. That's why I'm mentioning it. Like
Mhm.
yeah,
there are like ghostly encounters and things like that seem to like
Oh.
seem
couple
like
with
people
it.
standing in the corner of the
Yes.
room, or
Yes.
someone sitting on your
Ew.
chest,
Yeah, it's like
or
almost like a platform for paranormal. Not, I'm not saying that in a like
Really? So
scientific
in
way
some
to
way it's
disprove it.
connected.
Yes, 100%.
My gosh, I've had the feeling of sleep paralysis many times. Like,
Really?
yeah,
yeah, but never something like this.
yeah.
Hmm.
Who knows? Who knows what it
Mhm.
was?
Well, I'm glad he didn't do anything more
Yeah,
because
I'm
I
not
have
pregnant with
heard,
a ghost baby.
I have heard story. Was that a podcast, Lucy? I know you know what I'm talking about. When there was a
The
girl
woman
who was
who had sex with ghosts.
literally ghost raped. Yes.
Yes. I was
Ew.
actually listening to another podcast just the other day that was talking about that. It was I can't remember the name of it actually. I'm never going to find it because I just listened to it, so it's going to probably have disappeared off my feed. But it was a really interesting podcast all about people who have sexual encounters with ghosts,
Mhm.
but like them. You know, these women that
Mhm.
want to get
I
married
read
to
some stuff
ghosts.
about that too when I was looking up the Incubus.
Oh, for sure.
And one of the things I read with the Incubus said it's electric. They described that as electric.
That's right. And that's
And that's
one thing
what
that
I
you
had.
said. And yeah, like, and you also said there was like a sound associated with
Yes,
that as
there was an
well.
audible sound with the
God,
electric feeling at the
that's so
same time. It
terrifying.
was a zzzz as it like came and wrapped
Well,
around
it's
me.
terrifying for
Mhm.
fucking sure, but it's also super interesting because of the association that ghosts have with like messing with electrical fields and things like
Yes.
that too. So
Ooh, I didn't think
there's
about
also
that.
like that layer of creepy as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I didn't do this time is I
Mm.
didn't go around and video the lights everywhere.
Oh, you need to stop doing
I
that,
know, I
Karen.
stopped doing it because I
Mm.
actually pick up bad things. So I didn't do that at
God,
Lickleyhead
sound
because
on your phone
yes.
that you played for us.
Yes.
That was terrifying.
Terrifying.
Yeah, we
And
talked
where was
about
that
that
at?
extensively in the last podcast episode. We don't need to
Was
go.
it at Ward Hill?
It was
That was Castle Fraser.
I know, which you did again, it was closed. The second
I
time that we've been
know,
together and it was
twice I've gone.
closed. I
I've not
know.
been able to see
It
it.
just means you have to come
Next
back
time.
again, but that castle is seriously haunted.
Ugh.
Like loud and proud haunted. None of these.
But if anybody's listening to this who was like, "Ooh, I don't want to go to Lickleyhead," like go because it's amazing.
Oh,
And
for sure we're going back.
not
For
scary. And
sure.
anyway, I will
Yeah.
totally go back. I loved it.
Yeah, I'm terrified of all this stuff and
Yeah.
I can't wait to go back. I
Yeah.
can't. I just it's such a unique experience and I think everybody
Mhm.
if it's within their power can it's just
Yeah.
it's fascinating. And they did
And
such a great job. It's
they're
an
beautifully
amazing,
decorated
it's
and
beautifully decorated.
comfortable and
Yeah, your room
cozy.
is just
Yes.
gorgeous.
Oh, I loved it.
And it is like
Yeah.
a museum how every room is
Mhm.
staged, but it's so authentic at the same time.
Yeah.
Even though as quote unquote staged it is, you're still staying in a
Mhm.
castle that was built in from the 1600s
Yes.
to the 1800s. Like it is authentic in
Mhm.
every way. So I think they've done an amazing job.
But it was also comfortable. Like the mattress was really comfortable, the bedding, like everything
Yeah.
was really
I
nice.
slept great in your bed.
Good. I'm glad that we slept great.
Oh, yes. I would not sleep in the bed alone for sure.
Yeah.
Bring a loved one with you, but whether it be
Not someone who spoons you in the middle of the night.
no. I know. I honestly don't know what I would have done had he come in. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think
I
you
think
can
you
like
were paralyzed, Karen. I don't think you could have done anything.
was your heart just pounding out of your chest?
Yes. Yes. Yep. Because I was screaming for help and nothing came out. I was trying to get out of his like embrace and couldn't get out. And then all I could do was just close my eyes and bear it till it was over. And I don't know how long it took.
And then you don't remember anything, and then it was just the morning where you slept
It
in.
was just the morning, but except I had really bad dreams throughout the rest of the night.
Oh,
And I don't remember them.
Mandi.
I don't know what happened, except I woke up the next day like, oh, what time is it? Oh, I'm going to be late for like what's going on today. And
you don't
did
normally
that
sleep
happen?
late.
Did it not happen? No, I'm not a late sleeper.
I was going to say, I think that's also significant because you were like shocked
weird.
that you
Yeah.
slept so late.
And I woke up kind of feeling like I was in shock.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel right. Like what's going on?
Because you went to bed like in the process of being actually actively terrified.
Mm-hmm.
God, that sounds awful. It was the most beautiful room though. And you know what's funny is that's the room that I would pick for myself. And if I went back.
Yeah.
It's
Even
so
now,
pretty.
knowing what happened,
I would love it.
As long as like Sean was with me, as long as I would not.
You're fine in any room. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
You could have a ghosty threesome then.
Okay. I'll be like, come on in. There's plenty of room in this big bed.
Spoon Sean. Don't spoon me. Spoon Sean.
Little ghosty menage a trois. Never heard anybody.
Sean could put on his
with a creepy black gas-like man.
That castle. John doesn't need the castle's costumes. He's got his own.
Yeah, he'll come with his own. That's true. He will. Oh my God, so funny. Well, Mandi, thank you for sharing your crazy story. James at Lickleyhead. Lickleyhead is beautiful.
Thank you so much for hosting us.
Yes. We had the best time.
Yeah, we are coming back for more. And I cannot wait to go back for more. I really can't. And maybe put a king up on the 6th floor. That's just my only
and just add a cross to the rooms that don't have one.
I actually did tell that to his face when we were there. I told him he knows everything we are already talking about because I did have to tell him. Us in our big mouths, we're not really into like keeping things to ourselves. And I said, yeah, and you might want to add a couple crosses here and there, but other than that, yeah, you're good to go. So it's beautiful. So thank you so much, Mandi.
Oh, it was so fun, you guys. I love seeing you guys.
You're the best. Bye.
Bye.